if the borrower is not able to repay, then ultimately, like I said, we are setting both the borrower and the lender for sending up for failure. So RBI has mandated that household income is evaluated very, very carefully at the time of lending. They've also mandated one more thing कि जितना इनकम हो रहा है टोटल EMI ऑब्लिगेशन, टोटल लोन का जो रीपेमेंट करना पड़ता है, दैट कैनॉट एक्सीड more than 50% of the total income of the family. So if my family is earning 20,000 rupees per month, मेरा total EMI outflow in 1 month cannot exceed 10,000, and this is very, very carefully regulated.
There's a question from Rakesh. Are people in rural areas aware of this microfinance facilities, microfinance sector?
You're right. Rakesh ji. So I will tell you a secret. I did not know about Arohan before I joined Arohan, right? So, and I am not. Of course I'm not from rural India, but you will be surprised. हमारे, like I said, 22 lakh customers. There 90% of them are from rural India. कैसे पता चलता है? Because there's not a lot of advertising. It's mostly word of mouth. जैसे मैंने बोला, ग्रुप्स में लैंडिंग होता है, राइट? सो पीपल व्हेन दे कम टुगेदर, ग्रुप बना के उनको पैसा मिलता है, तो देन दे टॉक अबाउट इट एंड देन दे यूजिंग दैट टू इंक्रीज देयर लाइवलीहुड, टू इंक्रीज देयर लाइफ स्टैंडर्ड, इफ यू विल, standard of living, if you will, right? So people see that word of mouth gets around. So people are aware. Microfinance today, the government is talking about it, RBI is talking about it, people, our customers are talking about it. So definitely people know about this facility which is available for them, especially in rural India.
From Manorama Bhagat, how do you evaluate or analyze the cash flow generating capability of the borrowers?
Excellent question, Manorama ji. So the question हिंदी में बता दूं कि हम लोग कैसे, how do we निर्धारण करते हैं कि जो जिनको पैसा देंगे, like I kept saying कि they have to be able to repay the money. So how do we as a lender, how do we ensure कि do they have that capability or not, right? So you will be very, I was talking about RBI guidelines which came into effect in 2022. What they have done is that for every two things that they have done, they have specified that MFI loans, microfinance loans, can only go to those households जहाँ पे household income is less than 3 lakh rupees per annum. यानी कि महीने का 25,000 से कम जिस पूरे घर में आमदनी होता है, only those people, if they are given loans, they can be given microfinance loans. तो कैसे पता चलेगा आमदनी 25,000 है महीने का या 33 lakhs for a year? How do we find out? Because in the unorganized segment, at the bottom of the pyramid, as we call it, people who are financially excluded, पैन कार्ड्स नहीं होते, IT रिटर्न्स नहीं होते हैं, कोई फिक्स्ड इनकम भी नहीं होता है, इनकम ट्रेल, राइट? So what do? We have field officers who will go into their homes, who will talk to the customers, see how they are living. You know, घर पे छोटा सा फ्रिज है, घर पे फैन है, बाइक है, थोड़ा कुछ, बाइक तो of course is expensive many times, but how are they able to repay? Because if the borrower is not able to repay, then ultimately, like I said, we are setting both the borrower and the lender for sending up for failure. So RBI has mandated that household income is evaluated very, very carefully at the time of lending. They've also mandated one more thing कि जितना इनकम हो रहा है टोटल EMI ऑब्लिगेशन, टोटल लोन का जो रीपेमेंट करना पड़ता है, दैट कैनॉट एक्सीड more than 50% of the total income of the family. So if my family is earning 20,000 rupees per month, मेरा total EMI outflow in 1 month cannot exceed 10,000, and this is very, very carefully regulated. जैसा मैंने बोला, RBI comes to our offices, goes through our books, not just ours, all MFI lenders, and they go through our books to see who are we lending to. So we go there. The short answer, Manorama ji, is that our officers go into the customers' houses. They will verify what is the information that the customer has submitted with us, and is that true or not? Will that person actually be able to repay the loan or not? So it's very, very important that evaluation is done very carefully. And we have people to do that. We train people to do that.
We have a question from Usha Rajaratnamji. Ma'am, can you ask your question?
Yeah. Hi, good morning to everyone and to you especially. I must admit that I have zero knowledge of finances. I'm a financially knowledge, in terms of knowledge of finances is substandard. But anyway, I have a question. Actually, two questions. One is you're talking about how you reach out to those people in the rural belt who are truly in below the poverty line, I would say, because 3 lakhs per year is that in today's terms. And so when you reach out to them, you're looking to see if they need the funds, but they are expected to look out for what is it that they want to do with it, right? That they are on their own.
That is right.
So,
yes.
So do you have a separate wing that kind of helps people to give them ideas on what are the ways that one can actually, enhance their finances through? I feel the unorganized business sector is a wonderful business module. You find one great jackfruit and you put up a cart somewhere, you really earn quite a lot. Your coconut vendors, all of that. So do you have a separate segment that helps them, that guides them into what they need to do? So it's a win-win situation. You get your money and they also succeed. That's my first question.
Right. I'll answer your first question, Usha ji. So we do have a separate arm. So there are two ways to it. I think when I was listening to your question, so when we give them a loan, we also we can, like I tried to say, we give them for income generation purposes. It's not for consumption कि आप उसे मैंने तो TV खरीद लिया. It's not supposed to be for that. It's supposed to help them increase their livelihoods. It has to be for income generation. For that, while we're giving the loan, our officers will go and talk to the customer कि आप क्या करना चाहते हो, क्या आपका existing business है, what do you want to do with the money in the first place. And then once the loan goes out, within a month of the loan going out, we have somebody else who goes to the customer and does what we call an LUC. It's a loan utilization check. To see that, okay, I said that I will my loan only to buy 2 cows, for example. Did I actually buy 2 cows? So if not, then why? Right? That is one part of it. The other part, like you mentioned, we do have a separate arm, the CSR arm, which does financial literacy camps for our customers, which will help them. कि आप इतना पैसा आ रहे हो, how can you? What does it mean? How can you save more? How can you, earn more? And there are like sessions and modules around that as well. It's a separate arm, unfortunately at this point in time, probably not as extensive as it needs to be, but there is work going on that front, which is very much needed, like you mentioned.
So there is a possibility, so in collaborating, if there are organizations or people who are willing to, who would like to dish out knowledge on how to run a business successfully, a collaborative effort will make this percentage of success much higher, right?
Absolutely.
I'm just thinking logically.
Absolutely.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
Yeah. So the second thing which I wanted to ask is that, I just wanted to say I have a friend who who goes about helping people utilize the government schemes and benefits, especially the central government schemes and benefits, because they are numerous and they are fantastic. So I've started volunteering there. My knowledge in that sector is also very less. But what I've come to understand from, volunteering in some of these camps is that, firstly, the people who are truly in need of these benefits have zero knowledge, zero awareness that benefits exist, number one. And number two, in order to avail it, definitely you need to have your documents up to date. None of them have their documents up to date. So what we felt was there is a lack of support. How much can the government do? Government is giving you all the facilities. It's like they're putting food on the table. It's up to you to know that you have to raise your hand, go up to the table, pick up the plate and start eating. That is what is lacking in the people below poverty line who have the BPL, the below poverty line cards. So there is a lack of awareness. So my question is now, when you're saying that you have such an elaborate, offices set up in many places, would collaboration with people who are doing this help that below poverty line people to get equipped with basic knowledge so that they are able to actually be successful in businesses. They have, I mean, I feel the villages or the rural belt, they have an intelligence that is very different from the urban belt. They are extremely intelligent. They are intuitively intelligent. So they know finances, in calculating in their mind and minuses, even though they don't know how to read and write, they do that extremely well. That is, I feel, is a greater intelligence than the intelligence of the urban, So urban lot, like us, those of us who have studied in concrete jungle called schools and come out thinking we are, oh my God, we are highly intelligent, to actually go throw that prejudice aside and go to the village area or into the internal, you find they have such intuitive, nature-centric intelligence, right? But then in terms of money, physical money, they're unable to get access to because of these few factors. So my question is that how would you consider collaborating? Would like people like us who are going to camps, we are in touch with that lot of people, and they are all struggling. So how is it that we can change it where it becomes a win-win? It should be a giving and getting, it should be a very inclusive effort from all sectors, right? And identifying where the problems lie and then addressing it. So what do you have to say on that?
Absolutely, ma'am. I think, like you mentioned, these are people who need the interventions, and probably
Absolutely.
They don't have the access. Like you said, the food is on the table, lekin wo kaise khana hai, that is, there's a gap between actually picking up the plate and eating it, or at least getting the food off the table, right? I think awareness definitely, but also I'll tell you, one of the basic challenges we face is that customers may not have proper identification documents, KYC documents, for example, right?
Definitely.
So basically, we can tell them that you have to go to the local Aadhaar center, get a voter card, get an Aadhaar card done, or whatever the document may be. But that the customer has to do. And, so that's always a gap which is there. Of course, there are many people, like you mentioned, who are working at that level to make these people aware that this is a benefit, you can get it. But, that effort also has to come in from both sides. There's a lot of work which can be done, needs to be done on that. So happy to collaborate. Like I mentioned, we have our CSR arm, which does a lot of work across, India. But of course, the kind of reach that we have and a kind of reach that your organization have will be very different, because you're there 24/7 seeing what the actual issues are. Happy to work together, collaborate on that front now.
So do you have a setup in Bangalore?
We are just setting up our office in Bangalore.
One last thing which I wanted to say, I feel the time has come, or it's long past the time where we need to move forward to do collaborative work. We need to put aside, we need to have the people who are doing multiple things coming together and do a give and take kind of a thing, and I feel that's a need of the hour.
I understand, completely agree, ma'am. So like initially I mentioned, I think Radhika mentioned, so I lead the digital lending vertical over here at Arohan. We're relatively new, with the youngest department in the company. And, we're now right now working with poultry farmers and dairy farmers across India, where, like you mentioned, it's a collaborative effort. We are working with the people who are supplying cattle in case of dairy farming to the farmers, people who are collecting the produce from the farmers. We're lending. So it's a collaborative effort. Everybody is kind of getting, what they need. But of course, the goal is that the farmer needs to increase his or her income level. So agree with you that we can't be put into silos, that you are finance, you are cattle farmer, and you are trader and vendor, you are a veterinarian. I'm just giving you an example. It doesn't work like that anymore.
It doesn't work. We ourselves don't work like that. The human body doesn't work in silo. If Monday my arm says I'm not going to I'm not going to work with my leg, then how are we going to function? So we are a holistic being, and so should be the way we lead our lives, is what I feel. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Hi ma'am, some of my known is working in MFIs. They are getting less salary than other industries. Why is MFI industry not providing standard salaries to their field employees?
Okay, my generalized, and Arav I think has asked that question. So Arav, I will not standardize कि सारे companies कम देती हैं, ऐसा तो नहीं है. मैं आरोहन के दूसरे कंपनीज के बारे में नहीं, आरोहन के बारे में बता सकती हूँ. सो आर पीपल जो हमारा आरोहन इज अबाउट 9,500 पीपल अक्रॉस इंडिया. और उसमें से ऑलमोस्ट आई थिंक 8,500 लोग फील्ड एम्प्लॉइज हैं जो जाके कस्टमर से मिलते हैं. बाकी लोग जैसे कि मैं भी फील्ड जाती हूँ, लेकिन माई मेन वर्क इज आउट ऑफ द हेड ऑफिस हियर इन कोलकाता. तो जो लोग फील्ड में जाते हैं उन लोग का एटलीस्ट आरोहन में फिक्स सैलरी होता है और इंसेंटिव होता है बेस्ड ऑन targets. Of course, they have targets to not only reach out customers but also make sure that the money that has been lent out comes in. They have rewards, recognition programs, they have petrol allowance, और भी काफी कुछ है. I can give on details, but I don't think that as a norm people working in MFI get less than other industries. ऐसा तो नहीं है, नहीं तो फिर कोई काम ही नहीं करता MFI में, क्यों करेंगे, right? So it's a mix, and let me also tell you that the work of a field officer is very difficult, right? There we have field officers who start their days at 7 a.m., 8 a.m., and then that goes on till sometimes 6, 7 p.m. at night, where they're actually on their bikes going and visiting customers. It's not an easy job. So of course, uska to adequate compensation should be there, and I'm sure it's not a norm, Arav.
And there's a question from Nagarajan Krishnamurthy. Any declining impact on microfinance borrowing after implementation of MGNREG scheme?
No, Nagajanji. So Mahatma Gandhi Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme, it has not impacted primarily because what we've seen. So most MFI lending goes out to women. As a norm, ever since MFI started, not only in India but also in Bangladesh, South Asian countries as well, microfinance group बनता है वो लेडीज, ज़्यादातर लेडीज का ही बनता है. So almost like 79% our lending happens to people who go out and maybe under they're going out working in pre-kins or other sort of development work. It's typically one person in a family, as far as I know. So we've not seen any declining impact on borrowing post the scheme. The scheme has been extremely helpful, and definitely it's supposed to supplement and make sure that people get minimum wages for a minimum amount of time, right? So short question is no, I've not seen that.